Recording now.
There we go. Now, if you can speak, you can influence. And if you can influence, you can change lives. And still, public speaking is one of the biggest human fears there is. Now, if you are serious, however, to build your brand, your presence, get your message out there, then speaking is one of the, if not the best way to get there. Today, we are joined by a very special guest who hasn't only made public speaking her profession, but she's also teaching professionals, TEDx talkers, journalists, and everyone who want to use their voice to make a bigger impact to do exactly that. How can you be more intentional with your voice? Sally Prosser is former TV news reporter. She was also company spokesperson and qualified speech and drama teacher. And to say that she has extensive experience and knowledge about all things voice and presentation is a slight understatement. So I'm very excited for Sally to join us and share some of her gems today. Sally, thanks so much for being here.
It's wonderful to be here.
I'm excited because I've known you for a little while now, quite a few years, and I've seen your progress and your journey and your daily growth by the looks of it. Can you give us a bit of a snapshot how you actually landed where you are now? How could you make public speaking your profession?
Usually when I say the word public speaking, people are like, oh my gosh, I couldn't think of anything worse. I guess my whole entire life, I have loved public speaking. I feel like I was born with the hairbrush microphone. When I was younger, I was just wanting to do little performances in front of my family. And normally it was bad singing, like, singing Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus at Christmas. But always loved talking, and I asked Mum if I could do drama, and she put me into speech and drama lessons, and that's what really started it. And I was doing public speaking competitions in a Stedfords from a very young age. I was always that person that was asked to stand up and thank the teacher or thank the guest speaker and all that kind of thing. And then I went into TV and radio news reporting. Of course, a big part of that is voice. And then I went into company spokespersoning. That's not a word, company spokespersoning. And throughout that time, I was asked a lot about my voice. And I was helping other journalists while I was a journalist and also as a spokesperson on different things that they could do. And more, I started hearing these sorts of questions. How do you speak like that? How do you have the confidence? And there was a key moment when I was working in corporate and I came out of a meeting and somebody said, oh, Sally, can I ask you something? How do you always say what you want to say in meetings? And I was really floored by this question because I was like, what do you mean? I go into meetings consciously trying not to talk so much, like to not dominate the conversation. What do you mean you don't say what you want to say? We can't have this, So we sat down in the kitchen. I gave her some tips on what she could do. And she was like, oh my gosh, this is so helpful. And that's when I thought, oh, I'm going to give this a crack and do this full time, because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, but often you don't really realize it's your area of expertise until you just start saying what you think is obvious and other people's minds are blown.
So true.
So that's how it started.
Because often what's so easy to us, we think everyone can do that and I can't charge for that, can I? And you feel a little bit guilty about that.
Absolutely. It's like when I'm on TikTok and I'm watching some of the makeup tutorials and they're like, so as you know, you need to have this, 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 and this. And I'm like, hang on, what? know about this. And I'm going back and I'm watching going, I don't think everybody knows you need to have I don't know what it was, like moisturizer, this and that. But it was a perfect example of something that she thought was obvious, that I was there going, this is brand new information to me.
Absolutely. Well, this is actually the exact concept and the idea behind the difference between an expert and authority. An expert is able to apply it, to do it, to solve the problem, to simply get the work done. And authority is somebody who can explain it to others who may not come from this background, who don't have this technical expertise and experience. And this is exactly what you said. Not everyone knows what you're talking about or understands the jargon and feels intimidated by that. And this is also a big part of public speaking, to actually get your message across in a way that resonates with others. And you're doing it so well in so many different shapes and formats. I'm very curious, from your own standpoint, what does an impactful presentation actually mean to you?
You know, when somebody speaks and it's like they've bypassed your ear and they're just speaking straight to your heart, and you're thinking, how did that person get inside my head? That is when you know you're being impactful, when you can bypass the ears and speak straight to someone's heart. And I really believe we can do that by understanding our audience, but by also really understanding our own voice. And that's where I like to work in, is if we really connect with our own voice, then we can connect with others.
Oh, that's a powerful way to describe, because so many are focusing only on the content that we put out there, but not necessarily how we actually get it across. What are some of the tips and tricks that you teach your clients and students to actually connect with this inner voice to get it then out there?
Yeah, you're so right. There's so much focus on content and not enough on connection. And we need both. Like what we say is important, the content is important, but I find that the focus is often so much on what are they going to ask me? What am I going to say? Have I got my notes? Are my slides okay? And they miss the connection, because you could present a perfect, in air quotes, you might not be able to see me, I'm doing air quotes on perfect presentation, where you have not stumbled and you've said everything on your script, but the audience has totally not connected with it. And so I talk about trusting yourself. The word confidence means to trust. And if we want to have confidence, we've got to trust that we know what we're talking about. I know, Petra, you're always talking about, or you work with a lot of people who are experts in their field. They're experts in their field, but, and I work with people similar as well, often they don't have that trust. I feel like if I don't have my notes written out and I haven't practiced it 10 times, then I am going to be found out to not know what I'm talking about. But who you are the expert. You have the depth of knowledge inside yourself, just trusting that you do. And trusting that if somebody asks you a question in your lane, then great. If they ask it out of your lane, no worries. You go and get them and you take them back to your lane. So I would always say it starts with getting in touch with our inner voice, our mind. What is this story we are telling ourselves? What is this speaking story? Because the way we see ourselves as a speaker is usually to do with our past experiences. And we often just decide these things. I'm more behind the scenes. Going on social media means that you're up yourself and flashy. No one wants to hear from me. There's other people already out there speaking about my topic. You know, all of these things, they're just stories in our minds. And so I say, you know, let's take back the power. We all have the power to rewrite our speaking story. So rewrite, what if you were somebody who made videos on social media to help people? Nobody could say your story like you, that nobody has your experiences. I know you talk a lot about these tips as well. So it's getting that mindset right. And then we link it to the next part of our voice, which is our body. So our body is our voice. And exercises like rolling the shoulders back and forth, by opening up the arms, twisting, dancing, really feeling into the body is so important. When we're focused on the content, we lose that connection with our body. But speaking is something to be embodied. That's what I believe. So we get our body on the, not on the line, of course, but although speaking sometimes can feel like you're putting your body on the line. That is true. You've got your mind, you've got your body, and then you bring in the third part of the golden triangle, as I call it, and you've got your breath. Because without breath, there is no voice. It's what powers our voice. So if you can be getting that oxygen in and then getting that oxygen out as we speak, we want to think on the in breath and speak on the out breath. And if you're listening to this going, oh my gosh, like what? I've never thought about any of this. That's totally understandable. And this is why I love what I do, because most people don't think about their own connection to their voice, that mind, body, breath connection to their voice. And if we're so busy grasping at content and what do people want and outside of ourselves, then we can never really tap into the power of our own voice.
Oh, I hope everyone goes back and listens to this little part over and over and over again, because you're right. It starts with trusting ourselves, and you can't also become the trusted authority if you don't believe you have got something to say. You believe in your message and that you know how to answer questions because it's in your wheelhouse anyway, and then connect it with your voice. Honestly, mic drop moment right there.
Yes. How can others trust you if you don't first trust yourself? Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. Now, why do you think is it that public speaking is such a big hurdle to overcome and so many people are afraid of it? What is the reason for it?
Oh, there's a few reasons. Part of it goes back to the caveman part of our brain when, we're hardwired to be part of the tribe. We're hardwired to be with other people. Otherwise, we will, starve or get eaten by the tiger or be on our own. And so we also have, there's a universal human fear of not feeling like we are enough, or that fear of rejection. So when we're standing up, we're separating ourselves from the tribe and we're asking to be rejected, part of the brain goes, sit down, you're on a suicide mission, sit down, this is crazy, And so we've got to battle against that, because that's not the case at all. I would argue that speaking helps us connect rather than separate. But there is that fear of showing up, that fear of judgment. What will they say? What will they think? And yeah, I mean, this is why I've done a lot of coaching myself. Because you've got to, nobody has to do anything, but you have to weigh it up and say to yourself, okay, if I don't do this, then I can just stay where I am. But like I see time and time again, if you are an expert in your field and you are a bit put off by all of these younger people that don't know as much as you, getting out there on social media, growing their followings, connecting with people, getting the speaking gigs, getting the promotions, having the influence, and you're saying, well, I know way more. Well, get out there, make your voice heard, make the videos, write the emails. And
So true.
people will judge. Like people will always say or think anything, like no matter what you do.
Exactly.
So
what you do, but also what you don't do. Like when we put ourselves out there, it's like, oh, this is a bit weird. And then when we don't say anything, it's like, oh, it's a wallflower. They don't have an opinion. Like you can't get it right.
Right. Petra, it's so true. You can't please everybody, so you might as well please yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think Taylor Swift is an excellent example of that. She's had so much hate come her way through many things that were absolutely no fault of her own, her doing nothing at all. And this could be the same story for a lot of people who have got a profile. I don't know a single person who has a profile that hasn't dealt with criticism. So when I get criticized, I think, yes, I'm on the right path. Because if you're never getting criticized, then you're not going hard enough.
Absolutely. And this is also something that I want to address, because you put yourself out there, and to be honest, I love it. I see you dancing with your brush microphone, and you are not taking yourself too serious. But I also know, and you've also shared some of those negative comments, that you get criticized for it. What is a good way to handle this criticism, the negative feedback, or the comments, the hate comments? How do we go about it?
Yeah. So when I first went viral on TikTok in 2020, which was just craziness, I wanted to throw my phone out the window. I rang my partner and I said, something's happened. And of course he was like, Sal, what's happened? Is somebody hurt? And I was like, I think I've gone viral. It was quite funny. And at first I, responded, but that just sucks you into it. It's important to also find the difference between criticism and hate comments. So if somebody just doesn't agree with you or doesn't like you, like that's okay. Like people are allowed to disagree with you. You can't, it's healthy dialogue to have people disagreeing with you. And so I think that's fine. Sometimes it's just outright trolling and then I ignore. My coach gave me a great technique, which was pretend you're wearing a disco ball costume. Pretend it's kind of Lady Gaga in a way, but you're wearing this amazing disco ball costume. And so anything that comes in, whether it be a hate comment or even a positive comment, it's just a reflection back on the commenter.
I love it.
So I found that to be a really helpful technique, that it's not about you, it's just a reflection back on them. And as you'll see, sometimes if it's a really funny one, I will read it like a newsreader. It's also about having empathy and compassion. You know, sometimes I go to some of these profiles where they've said, I had someone make a video where they photoshopped the poo emoji onto my head. A video saying I was Australia's most condescending woman. Anyway, but I went into his profile and he was just this young boy, and my heart ached. I thought, what must be going on in his home life for him to be filling his time creating content to tear down a stranger?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, it's so much easier to consume and to criticize than to create yourself. I had a troll probably 6 months after I started my business, and I still have the negative comments on Facebook. I didn't even know this person. We've never interacted. And then they got even in my email, say, you moron, can't believe what crap you put out there and whatsoever. Yeah. And never had an interaction with them at all. So I agree. You can't please everyone. And, I'm happy to disagree in certain areas. But when it comes to personal attacks, that's just totally unacceptable.
It's not okay. Yeah. And I'm quite fortunate. I don't really have that many. Oh, well, I guess an attack on your voice is a little bit personal, but yeah, I just think what is going on in these people's lives.
Exactly. Get a life. Don't be a keyboard
and as
warrior.
You said, it's so much easier to comment on content than create content. Brene Brown says it really well when she's like, she doesn't want to hear criticism unless you're in the arena. I'm sure that she says it more eloquently than that, but it's very easy to stand in the stands and throw tomatoes on people. And you see this all the time with just people who talk about people on reality TV shows or celebrities, and they'll say, I like that person, or I don't like that person. Well, actually, you don't really know that person.
Exactly. Yeah. And how often does it happen that somebody more successful and higher and further along the journey than you are criticizes you? It doesn't happen. Those who are way behind us, they're usually the ones who are very loud, because as you said, they are the ones on the stands, and it's so easy to throw stuff at others when you're not actually participating. Easy.
Yeah, people living their best lives don't criticize. Like, you don't see Oprah out there putting hate comments on things. She's just got better things to do.
Absolutely. Now, I'm curious, you're working with both females and males. Is there a difference in how both genders approach public speaking or prepare for it, use their voice, or are there similarities?
I work with a lot more women than men, but I do work with men as well. And in my experience, surprisingly, I found there to be a lot of similarities. So I know that women report more that feeling of imposter syndrome, of not feeling like they're the authority. But with a lot of men that I've worked with, they do have the same doubts. And maybe it's just harder to express that in certain areas, which is also why there's like the value of having a coach. Yep. I find that, especially with my corporate clients, it's really valuable to have somebody that's not connected to your family, not connected to the company, not connected to your career trajectory. It's kind of like counseling. That's why I've got my life coach qualification as well, because it's hard to speak your truth when you don't know what that is. It's hard to speak from a place of purpose when you don't know what that is. So a lot of it is really digging down to where are these doubts coming from? And then a whole lot of practical tips on top of that.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that.
But yeah, I actually wouldn't say there's that many differences.
So good, because you're right. It's harder to have a message, to put your voice out there and use that instrument if you don't even know what you stand for. And this is often where people are starting with the marketing and the shiny objects, because it's a lot sexier to put LinkedIn post out there, whatever it might be, but it's not so easy to find your personal truth. Now, let's say we've got this incredible professional who knows what they stand for, they've got the message. What are some of the tips, tricks, the first steps for you to teach them to become a more impactful speaker?
First of all, connect with the voice.
Mm-hmm.
So work with a coach or listen to podcasts or really connect in with your voice. If you want to be a speaker, your voice is the tool of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
So it is your trade, knowing how to breathe, how to get the vibrations sitting to where you want them to, how to control it. Because so often when we get into these situations, I'm sure everybody can relate to this, where their voice has done something weird, like a weird pitch has come out, or it's come out crackly, or they've lost their breath, or they've stumbled over the words and gone, oh gosh, I'm kind of a bit out of control here. So you want to really be able to take the reins of your voice so you can be in control of the words and they don't take control of you. So that's what I'd say. And then it's a matter of your target audience. What is your message and where do you want to be speaking? So I work more with voice, not so much getting speaking gigs, but they're the two go hand in hand. And one mistake I see is, and I've probably made it myself as well, is when they're putting the message together, you promote it to the audience that wants to hear it, not the event organizers who will hire you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's sort of a difference. So if you want to speak about leadership, for example, speaking to all the people that need the leadership training, yeah, that's great. That's who your message is for. But if you want to get the speaking gig, who are the people running the leadership conferences? Who are the people organizing the professional development for the big companies when it comes to leadership? So yeah, that's the tip that I'd give.
Oh, I love it. It comes down to, again, being the translator. What is it actually that you want to get across that matters to this particular audience? And then the message actually flows. And it also comes down to being empathetic and not just put your message on everyone who listens, but being very mindful how we actually get that across. Honestly, love it. Now, to wrap things up, what is next for you? Where can we find and connect with you and learn more what you do?
Absolutely. And one thing I'd just add to what you said earlier is one thing that can hold us back is we think, well, I don't know what my truth is. I don't know what my message is. I don't know what my niche is. I'm going to wait till it all lands like a light bulb and then I'll start creating content.
Yes.
But I can definitely speak from experience in that my brand has evolved so much since I first started. And it's through, oh my gosh, I've got construction going on next door, Petra. I'm so sorry if you can hear that.
No, not at all.
Oh, good. Is I have learned more about my brand through the content creation. It's been through the video making, through the posting, through the creation that has helped me find my voice. So it's not like you find it first and then create later, but create first.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes, because so many are stumbling and say, no, I'll just refine it a little bit more and then I put it out there. But you don't know what resonates with you yourself until you actually do it. And then you try it a little bit, get some feedback, tweak it again. But again, people are not willing to fail, quote unquote, in public when they're tweaking the message and they think they have to stay on this path, whatever they're choosing now, for the next gazillion years. And it's not the case. So thank you for
social media. Like, I hate to break it to you, but no one's going to see it. No one's like, I mean, I have a following of 250,000 people. So I have like, more than 10,000 on LinkedIn, just as an example. And I'll put out a post and maybe less than 100 people may see it. I think that we overinflate. Oh gosh, we're going to put out this video and it's going to make and break our whole life. Like, you should be happy if people see it, really.
Exactly. Thank you for the permission to pivot, to change direction, to change message, and to, have fun and try and test your message.
Yeah. And one more quick tip, I think I took this from journalism, is that any content you put out, it will never be the best you can do. It's never going to be the best you can do. It's always going to be the best you can do by deadline. It's always the best you can do by deadline. So, I look at all of my content and I don't think I've ever created the perfect video or the perfect post. I've got some that I like more than others. But most of them are really a time thing. I haven't got all day to be wasting on one video. It's good enough for my half an hour of making it. Close enough is good enough. So really just get that wheel moving. It's like the pushing of the boulder. If you start getting the movement, it'll get momentum. So in saying that, I'm not an international woman of mystery. You can find me on pretty much every platform. I am at Sally Prosser Voice on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, at Sally_Prosser on Twitter, and you can search for Sally Prosser on LinkedIn, and my DMs are always open.
So good. I'll add, of course, all the links in the show notes, and I highly recommend to connect with you because you always inspire, entertain, and obviously also educate. So thank you for leading the way, for being the brave person, for having a strong standpoint, and to inspire all of us to get ourselves out there a lot more.
Oh, thank you, Petra. I admire and respect the work you do so much as well. You are another example of going for it, taking action, putting it out there, and keep doing what you're doing. I absolutely love it.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you so much.